Hello guys, this is long overdue, but I thought that I would share some tips and tricks I learned as a solo female traveler. As you all know, if you've been watching my videos for some time now, I moved to Hungary, Europe, for 6 months from January to late June, and so like early July. And this was my first time living alone. Even in undergrad, I lived with my parents because my college was very close, and so I just commuted. And so living alone in a foreign country for the first time where you don't know the language was definitely a challenge, but I absolutely loved it. I learned so much and I gained so many like experiences, life skills. I taught English there. I don't know if I mentioned that, but anyways, I had not lots of vacations, but we did have a good amount of vacation time. And I also utilized my weekends to travel neighboring countries. So I did lots of travel, and I did it mainly solo. I also did it with another girl who was in the program to, I think, 2 or 3 countries. And my family also came to visit. My whole family came to visit once, and then my dad came to visit once. So I did some traveling with them. So I wanted to first give you guys like some breakdown of some like tips I have for travel in general, and then maybe some that are focused more towards solo female traveling. So I have my notes here, so if I'm looking at that, it's so I don't like miss anything. But also like I have gained like so many tips and like skills, or not skills, but like lessons and experiences throughout the 6 months. So like I might not be able to get like all of them down here, but if I think of any more, I'll just keep like updating the caption of the video to keep saying more. Anyway, so first of all, like transport. If you're doing flights, I would say use Skyscanner or like Google Flights. Make sure you're in a private browsing window, because sometimes they just like increase the prices for no reason if they see that you've been looking at like flights. So yeah, I would just do like Google Flights and put in my location. If I wanted to just go anywhere during the certain period of time, I would select like starting from Budapest and then just going anywhere, I don't know, between like May 12th and May 19th. And so it would show me like a bunch of different options, and I would select the cheapest place to go to. So that's an option, or just like if you know the place you want to go to, putting that in. So some flights that are like flight companies that are pretty cheap is like EasyJet, Wizz Air, Ryanair. They all like don't have a carry-on included, so you do have to pay. And sometimes like when you're first selecting the flight, they ask you like, oh, like do you want like Wizz Priority, which has like a carry-on, blah 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 blah. Always say no to that, and then later there's another baggage section where you can click add a carry-on bag, because that is 99% of the time cheaper than getting like the pre-package or whatever. I would say for flights like in Europe to other countries in Europe, probably 2.5 hours early. I would always err like on the earlier side, because one time me and my family were flying from, I think, like Berlin to Venice or something like that, and we barely made the flight. It was just like a crazy amount of people. So yeah, always err on like the safer side. Most likely your flights are gonna be either like early morning or like evening-ish. So like if you don't have much to do, just like it's better just to wait like in the airport than to just wait at a coffee shop or something, you know. So that's flights. And then obviously there's like trains as well. I would say Central Europe, Eastern Europe isn't as developed in the trains as Western Europe is. So I mainly used Flixbus, which is like bus as a form of transport, to go like Central Europe, Eastern Europe. It was very convenient. I would choose like the overnight option, so I would get on the bus at like 10-11 p.m. and I would get to my destination like 5-6 a.m. and I would like be able to sleep on the bus, and that way like I would wake up, feel not necessarily rejuvenated. I would still be tired, of course, but like I would be able to have that whole day, and like I didn't have to like pay for like a hostel to stay overnight and get on the flight the next morning or anything. Like it worked out really well. Sure, it might be like some more hours, but you're doing an overnight anyways, so you're just gonna be sleeping. So I do recommend Flixbus. There's like trains, also like Interrailing Europe, Eurorail. There's a lot of different passes and stuff that you can look into if you're so like going to be primarily just traveling. Since I was working also, I wasn't like back-to-back traveling. So I think the Eurorail is like you have 2 months and you get like 10 journeys or something like that. So I couldn't do that because I was in 2 months, maybe I wouldn't be traveling as much. But yeah, so recommend Flixbus, flights, and like obviously like booking your transportation like ahead of time. If you're doing like non-tourist season, like you can get away with booking it like a couple weeks before. Like that's what I had to do for some stuff, but always booking it in advance is like gonna be cheaper. And then like accommodation, so like hostels, there's 2 main apps I would recommend, Hostel World or Booking.com. There are some countries, some cities that don't have Hostel World hostels, so that's why you have to use Booking.com, or there's just like more variety on Booking.com. Like when I went to Tromso, there was only 1 hostel on Hostel World, and Booking.com had like 3 others. And initially I had done the Hostel World one, but then when I looked at Booking.com, they just seemed a lot better, more centrally located, so I switched over to that. The only caveat to that is that Booking.com doesn't have like a group chat. So let me back up. Hostel World is basically an app. It has like a bunch of hostels on it. They have to be pre-approved and all that. And once you select the hostel and you pay for it and stuff, you get put into a group chat with everyone else in that same hostel, as well as a group chat with people in hostels like in the city itself. So it's a great way to meet people. Like if you just shoot a text in either group chat and be like, hey, like anyone want to meet up for XYZ, like you'll most likely get a response, or you can look at other people and see what they're doing and reply to them. Booking.com doesn't have that, but you know, if you're in a place that only has hostels on Booking.com, then you're gonna have to use that. So that is that. And for Hostel World, even Booking.com, some have female only dorms, which is amazing if like you're starting out as a solo female traveler and you want to kind of get used to it first, so like you can book female dorms. Some hostels don't have them, so it's kind of like you can choose to choose other hostels that you just have to like, sometimes you have to compromise, you know, like I really want a female only dorm, so I might have to spend an extra 15 minutes walking if it's like farther away. So you just have to make that choice yourself. But I would stay in like female only dorms if there was any, but if they were further away, then I would choose a mixed dorm to save walking time. And honestly, like both are fine, like mixed dorms versus female dorms. I would say like female dorms are a bit more comfortable. Like I wouldn't have to worry about like changing or whatever. It just felt like a little bit more like comfortable, secure. But again, mixed dorms are completely fine as well. I would say starting out, maybe try to do female dorms just so you are like used to the hostel experience and stuff. So yeah, that's female only. I would filter out 8 stars and above, and they have 24-hour reception and luggage storage. These 2 are important because sometimes if your flights are really early in the morning, you want to be able to check out, like if you have a flight at like 7 a.m., you want to get there 2 hours before, so like at 5, and then you would probably need to leave around 4:30, so like you need to make sure there's 24-hour reception so that they can check you out. And then luggage storage, you know, most likely they have checkout times around 10 or 11, and if your flight is like in the night, or if your bus is in the night, then like if they have luggage storage there, you can just leave your luggage there. You might have to pay, sometimes you have to pay like a couple euros or whatever the currency is to store your luggage. Other times it's just a room and you just leave it there or leave it behind the desk. It's secure, so don't worry about that. But yeah, always try to do luggage storage. It's just more convenient. You don't have to like you know, find a place. If you do need to find a place though, there's this app called Bounce, and you can just go on there. It'll tell you like locations all around you. Usually it's about 3 to 5 euros per bag per day. So if you need a place to store your luggage, that app I recommend. And then another important thing is reading the latest reviews. Sometimes, depending on the season you're in, it could be a really great hostel for like fall, winter, but horrible for summer because they don't have like AC or something. So always read the latest reviews, and maybe like, you know, all the stars are from like when they first opened, it was amazing, but now they're like really bad. So like always read. I would read like the last like 5-6 reviews and make my decision based on that. And then another big thing is walking distance to city center. So making sure it's centrally located, making sure that if it's not centrally located and you want to save the money by being a little bit further out, it's near like a bus station, a subway station, like whatever form of transport station there is. Most 90% of the time I chose places that were centrally located because I just wanted to walk and get to my like destination in like 10-15 minutes. I felt like, because I'm the type of person who's like, I want to see as much as I can when I'm in that place, so I don't like to waste that much time on transport. And so I did that. But like if places like Paris where like there's lots of different centrally located places, like not everything is like in the same little bubble, I was like 2 minutes away from like a subway, so it was very, very convenient. So really making sure you look at the distance to the city center, because it's very important, especially as a solo female traveler, that you're able to get back to your hostel like in the night, in the evening, if you go out, making sure that you're able, like it is a safe place to be. That's another thing you need to read the reviews for, to make sure that it's a safe neighborhood. If not, you can look up that neighborhood on Google and like figure out if it's safe or not. Obviously in every city there's going to be sketchy areas. Another really important thing is, this is more like female, I mean anyone really, like trusting your gut. Like in Arad, Romania, I only stayed there for a night because I was going to Oradea, Romania, and I had like a bunch of things I wanted to see, but it was like dark and like I don't know, I just had this really weird feeling, like there was people outside, it was like there were street lights and stuff, but like it just like didn't feel the safest to me. So I just ended up eating and like going to one place I wanted to go to, and I had like 5 other places that they were all like 2-3 minutes away from each other, but I was just like, no, like I'm just gonna go home. So I just went home. So that is hostels. Also, if you are someone who can't sleep in heat, making sure that there's AC in the summer. I would say for like winter, fall, and spring, it's fine. Like the hostels were completely fine without AC. But in the summer, there were some hostels where like I wasn't able to book AC, or their AC was broken down. My back was like covered in sweat, and a good night's sleep is very, very important. If you want to be able to wake up early, explore, because that's another thing I will come to. Well, actually, that's it for hostels. Excursions. Start early, you know, like if you know something's gonna be busy, like if you're trying to view like a museum, like a really famous excursion thing, try to buy like the earliest ticket, like 9 a.m. Like in London, for example, like the London Bridge or like the Tower or something. Like try to do like the earliest times, because that'll be when it's less crowded, and like you don't have to, because a lot of the times like you buy your tickets but you still have to wait in a line to do security and stuff. So like in London for St. Peter's Cathedral, I think I bought tickets at 12:30, but I didn't end up getting in until 1:30, even though I was in the line on time, because you still have to wait through a line. So that all can be avoided if you buy tickets early. Having a tentative plan. Now, I'm someone who likes to have like everything planned, like, okay, do this, do this, do this, and then get lunch here. Or like not even get lunch, like, you know, get lunch in this area. But like, even if you're not a person who likes to stick to a plan, like have at least a tentative plan of like things you want to see. Getting tickets beforehand is a must. You cannot buy tickets for a lot of places, like popular places. You can't buy tickets like the day of, like they will all be sold out, or like there's like separate lines for tickets and non-tickets, and for the non-tickets the lines are crazy. So like buy tickets beforehand, and like give yourself a buffer time. Like if your ticket's at 12:30, get there at 12, because the lines are gonna be insane. So definitely have a tentative plan. What I really like to do is I would use Google Maps, and you can add a bunch of stops. So I would like add stops and then kind of see, okay, like everything, like some of the things I want to do are all in the same area. So then I would like plan to do all of that one day and then do the other things next day. So seeing like what's clustered where, so that you're not wasting time in transportation getting from A to B to C. When A was closer to C, you could have just done those two together. So stuff like that. 2 other apps that are really good are Get Your Guide and Viator. I highly recommend taking day trips. I think every single city I visited, I would do a day trip or even 2-day trips, because mostly you can do everything a city has to offer in like 1 or 2 days. Like if you just want to do like the sightseeing stuff, not if you obviously want to just like walk around and sit at coffee shops, which I did a lot of too. But if you want to see more than just the city, doing day trips is amazing. Get Your Guide is amazing because obviously you're with a bunch of people. They explain the history of things. They take you through things. They cover transportation. 99% of the time it's like in an AC bus or whatever. You don't have to worry about that. I would look at how much it would cost to do it by myself versus them. And a lot of the time it was like a little bit of a difference. I'd be like, I'd just rather pay a little bit more and do it with them, not have to worry about transportation, the tickets to get in somewhere and all of that. And they'll also like be able to tell you a lot. So day trips are like, I would highly recommend them if you have like the budget for it. They're amazing because you get to see more than just the city, you know. Another thing is like free walking tours. Guru Walks is really good. Also, if you look up free walking tours city, like there's websites like free walking tours Madrid, free walking tours Ljubljana, Slovenia. There's so many, and like you just tip them at the end. I would suggest like $10 to $15 tipping per person. It's a lot cheaper than getting like a official guided tour. These are also official. They're like licensed people, and I love them because you get to see the city if you're like short on time, or even if you're not short on time, but like you get information from your guide that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't unless you're like a history person and you read up on the city before visiting it. I would never have like known 90% of the things if they hadn't told me. So it's so cool to know like the history, what happened at this specific area, and then they like walk you to the next one. So I love them. I think I did so many walking tours when I was in Europe. Yes, and I talked about booking things in advance, tickets and all of that. Going off of that, like transportation, making sure that you know the transportation for that city. You know if there's subways, buses, you know, like sometimes they have apps, like for Budapest, they had the Budapest Go app, and they had like 24-hour passes, 48-hour passes, 72-hour passes, or just like normal tickets. Always having the app is so much easier than doing like physical tickets. Lots of countries, like popular countries, have apps. Like Prague has one, Vienna has one, Paris has one, so many places have one. And if they don't have apps, like knowing how to get your subway card, like if you need a metro card. I think Lisbon had a metro card and Barcelona had a metro card. Looking up if there's like the 24-hour passes, 48-hour passes. It might take some time. Like sometimes I'd get kind of frustrated because they weren't clear on like how to get transportation, like how to pay for it. But like knowing buses and all of that is so important. Knowing how you're gonna get from the airport to the hostel. A lot of cities have like buses, like shuttle buses that can take you, or they have like the metro system connected. So for example, like for Lisbon, they had a bus directly, and Barcelona, they had a bus directly from the airport to like the city center. So buying tickets for that beforehand. For Paris, they had that. For Ireland, for Dublin, they had that. Making sure you have all that, you're buying the tickets beforehand, you're knowing how to get around, because that's so important. And then using Google Maps or Apple Maps for like transport is also like very important. Another thing, so okay, that was kind of general. And some apps to have. Google Translate is your best friend. You can like use the camera, scan the street name, ingredients list, the menu, use it to communicate if they're not like, you know, type it in English, and then like you can show them, like have them read it, or you can play it out loud for them, and then you can press the record button when they're talking and it'll translate it into English. It's so convenient. That's how I survived in Hungary for 6 months not knowing the language. Having Google Maps and Apple, like if you're an Apple Maps person, which I am, still having Google Maps, because sometimes Apple Maps like doesn't have as much up-to-date information. Having Hostelworld, Booking.com, having the transportation apps like Budapest Go for Budapest, having like Uber, and having Bolt. Bolt is like a cheaper version of Uber, though sometimes some cities Bolt is more expensive than Uber, so always kind of just checking in both of the apps which one is cheaper. This is more like female specific, but obviously anyone can use them. It's super easy to make friends. You know, you just have to be outgoing. I'm an introvert. I struggle a lot to like start talking to people, but I had to force myself to be extroverted in order to make friends. I made so many friends in the randomest places. I made friends while like asking someone to take a picture for me. I made friends asking someone if I could turn off the lights. Like I made friends on a walking tour. It's so easy. You always start like with the basic questions like, hey, where are you from? How long are you traveling? Where are you going next? And like a lot of times, like sometimes the place you're going next, like they're also going next, so that's always fun. I met up with a bunch of people. I met in like Paris, I met up with them in like Barcelona. I met in Paris, I met up with them in Madrid. I met up with them in Lisbon, like lots of stuff like that. And then you kind of get the conversation flowing, and sometimes I'm like direct and I'm like, hey, like do you want to go out tonight with me? They'll be like, yeah. So another thing, like going out, like definitely have someone and make sure you know them for a couple hours at least. Like, you know, you met them on a walking tour in the morning, you got lunch with them after, then you're going out with them. Or like have another person with you, because like sometimes there are situations where they might like have too much to drink or something, and it's kind of hard to take care of that by yourself. So having someone else or like knowing them for a bit beforehand is always nice. And then, you know, when you meet someone, you can ask them like, hey, do you want to get lunch? Do you want to get dinner? Do you want to get drinks? Even if you don't drink, like get coffee, get a soft drink. Do you want to go explore the specific area I wanted to see? Is always easy way to like get to know more about people. Like I mentioned, like Hostel World has a group chat, so just typing in there like, hey, anyone want to get drinks later? Hey, anyone want to go out tonight? Hey, anyone want to explore this area? Or like, I'm here from this day to this day, let me know if anyone wants to meet up. They'll either reply directly to you, you can give them your Instagram so that they can DM you, or you can like look through what people have said in the group chat and reply to people if you're like, oh yeah, like this person seems cool. I already mentioned going out. Trust your gut, like I mentioned before. Like if something feels weird, creepy, if you're not comfortable using the transportation, just order like a Bolt, order an Uber, you know, turn around, don't go to that restaurant, stuff like that. And when you're like going places, have your maps on, but don't continuously stare at it, like keep it down. And that's also a good thing to do for like countries that are known for pickpocketing, like Paris, Barcelona. 3 of my friends like got their phone stolen in Barcelona. So like making sure you have like on my phone, I have the cards on the back of my phone but for those 2 countries I took the cards out. I always like made sure like my backpack or something that like if I was on a subway, I would turn it around and put it on the front. Just having like awareness around you is good. And also watching the crowd, right? If everyone in the crowd is like putting their backpacks to the front, you also put your backpack to the front, like stuff like that. In a subway, if you're sitting like near the doors, people will just like steal your phone and run. So like making sure you're just aware and that your phone is like really tightly held, stuff like that. What else? If you want to ask people to take pictures, which me, I love like getting my picture taken. Like I want to take pictures like in cities, like to remember it, whatever. It's so hard when you are traveling solo because like you can't necessarily be like, oh, can you take more? Like I don't really like these, right? But I would always ask like people who are in like big groups of girls or like other people who are very clearly tourists as well, because you know you don't want your phone to be stolen. And sometimes if you look at the pictures you don't really like it, like just wait there like and ask someone else like after they leave. That's totally fine. I've had to do that a lot of times. Another thing is that you're gonna have to eat meals alone if that's something you've never done before. It can be kind of hard at first. I was used to it already before. So like just like have a book downloaded on your phone or have like movie downloaded on your phone or just like people watch, you know. It's totally like lots of people eat meals alone because there's a lot of people solo traveling as well. So like that's totally fine. And like I feel like dinner is the meal. Sometimes I would get like, oh, I wish I had someone, and at that time like maybe the next day you make plans with someone to get dinner. So it's totally fine if you're eating alone. No one is judging you or looking at you weirdly if you are eating alone, because it's totally normal, especially in Europe where so many people are solo traveling. Having your location shared with someone, whether that be a parent or a friend, just and like sharing your itinerary with them just to like make sure like that at least they're looking to see that you made it on your flight okay, or like you made it to the train station to go to a different country okay. I already mentioned in my Geneva vlog, but like I missed my train from Paris to Geneva, and like my mom was calling me and she was like, why are you not at the train station right now? And I'm like, oh. So like I'm glad that she called, because I would have like missed my next train as well that I could have bought. Going off of that, like if you're traveling for a huge amount of time, like I was, like you're going to end up missing a train or a bus or a flight. Like it's okay, it's part of the experience. I thankfully only missed one train, like long train, to another country, so I'm really grateful for that. And like, you know, collect yourself and just book the next thing out, or like change your, you know, sit down, get your laptop out, iPad, phone, whatever, and like figure out if you're gonna book something else for the next hour or the next day, if you have to change your hostels, whatever. Going off of that, if you need to like reduce your amount of stays, just like call the hostel, email them, and they'll be able to change it for you if you can't. Because in hostel world, I think if you delete your reservation, like you have to delete all your nights, you can't just delete one night. Also, having an eSIM, I really liked Airalo. It's AIRALO. I'll put like my referral code down below if you want to get $3 off. But it's an eSIM, so for some of them, for some phones, I think the earlier versions, you have to call your carrier to unlock your phone to be able to use it. But it's really nice. It has different packages, but it works like anywhere. You just turn off your primary cellular and you turn this on, and it works like a charm. Like you just can't go on like social media because that drains it really quickly. So I would always just wait until like 90% of the cafes, restaurants, museums like have Wi-Fi, so I just wait until I was connected to that to upload anything or check social media. But that's been a lifesaver. Obviously, I had it for 6 months. The next thing is always have power banks, always have snacks. Power banks are so important. I think I had to use my power bank at least twice a day because I was always like vlogging or like looking at my phone for like maps drains your battery so much. So always having a power bank and like having snacks, you know, I would always have like bars with me so that I could like quickly eat and like sometimes I know this isn't good, but like I had to miss meals sometimes because I was like so caught up on like the next thing that I would just forget to eat, and that'd be like, oh, why am I so hungry? And I was like, because I missed lunch. So I'd like have a bar. And I'm vegan. I learned that the best vegan food sometimes is in restaurants that aren't completely vegan. So what I would do if I was around the area, I was getting like time for lunch, I would just look up like vegan food near me, and then it would show me like on Google like this place has vegan food. I would just go there and order that. Or it's very easy also to like make modifications to your dish, and like as long as you ask for it nicely and you're like, would it be possible, like they'll be fine. Sometimes they won't let you make modifications because it's like their system is really strict, but just be like, okay, go to somewhere else, you know. Another thing is like there's not lots of tipping culture in Europe, so just like look up and see if there is tipping culture in the city you're visiting. Another thing is like they won't come to you to give you the check, you have to call them over, which sometimes might be kind of not ideal if you're like trying to get out of there quickly. Sometimes you have to wait like an extra 20 minutes to like catch their eye, but you can also just go to the register and be like, hey, I'm ready to pay. They also like don't split checks in Europe. I mean, sometimes they do, but like most of the time, like just pay yourself, and then like if you're with someone, like the next meal will be on you. Or like if they have PayPal, most people in Europe don't have Venmo, but they'll have PayPal, so having PayPal set up is really good as well. Those are like my main things as a female solo traveler. Of course, be aware of your surroundings, trust your gut, but it's so easy to make friends. Like if you are just open and like willing to talk, you will meet a few people who like maybe just don't want to talk, and like or maybe you're just not feeling their vibe, but don't let that discourage you from like talking to other people. Solo traveling is an amazing experience. I really love it, and I definitely want to do it again. But yeah, if I think of anything else, I'll write it in the caption below. If you have any questions for me, leave it in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer it. I think that is all. I'm so glad that you guys stuck around and you watched my videos. Sadly, this is the end for my 6 months of traveling Europe and teaching abroad in Europe, but I will definitely have more adventures soon, and I'm going to move on to the next chapter of my life, which is starting medical school in Pennsylvania. Bye, guys!